All right, Shalom. I want to start off as always, man, by giving all praises and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Racha HaKodash, Dabanis, unto the apostles, the elders, and the bishops of Great Millstone. I want to send much love to the brothers out there doing this work in truth and sincerity. And I also want to send peace and blessings unto the believers of the hopeful elect. And in this lesson, I wanted to get into a little history on this individual that you see on the screen. And his name is Leif Erikson. All right. Now, I learned about this guy from a Netflix series that I was watching called Vikings Valhalla. All right. And I'll show you here what I'm talking about. This series here, Vikings Valhalla. And I just made it to season 2. All right. And before I got into season 2, I started to look up some of the individuals that they were playing in the movie. The people that they were portraying, okay, were real people who lived, right? Who has actual, documented history, artifacts to prove that they were real. And I was looking into them, and this guy here, Leif Erikson, right? He stood out to me, okay, because the history on this guy is that pretty much he is the one who is credited, so-called, for discovering America and also Canada, but they said, mainly America. Now, first and foremost, you cannot discover a land that was already occupied by a people, okay? Gad and Reuben, the other tribes that was already on this side of the world before Leif Erikson was thought of, okay? But among, Esau, among the so-called Europeans, this guy, Leif Erikson, he is the one who is credited for discovering so-called America. Now, he wasn't the first so-called Viking, right, to come to the Americas, okay? And in this information, you're going to see that it was a trader, I believe, right? A trader who came to America about 15 years before Leif Erikson did. But this guy here, Leif Erikson, right, he's the one who is credited with discovering America, okay? Now, most people give the credit to Christopher Columbus, right? But this guy, Cristobal Colon, okay, his real name, he never set foot on the shores of America, right? He went down to the Bahamas Islands, okay? That's it. He never set foot on the shores of America, but yet he's the one who is credited for discovering America, so-called. But Columbus never came to North America, right? But this guy here, Leif Erikson, he is credited amongst the scholars, amongst, Esau, as the guy who discovered so-called America. Okay, now I have as I said, you can go and watch Vikings Valhalla. Okay, he is being portrayed in this series. All right, during the Dark Ages, man, and other so-called great Vikings of that time are being portrayed in this Netflix series that I was watching today. Okay, but I wanted to get into a little info here before I play this video about him, Leif Erikson. Now, some of these words, or I should say these names that's mentioned in this article are very hard to pronounce. Okay, so I'm letting you know ahead of time, I may butcher a name or two or three. Okay, but you'll know what I'm talking about, and if you can sound it out, sound it out. But some of these names are hard to pronounce. Okay. But this is a little info here about Leif Erikson. And this video, okay, we'll go into more detail about the true story of Leif Erikson, all right, and what he encountered when he came to North America, so-called, right? But here in this article, it says Leif Erikson flourished 11th century, was a Norse explorer widely held to have been the first European to reach the shores of North America. But in school, they tell you Christopher Columbus, right? It says the 13th and 14th century Icelandic accounts of his life shows that he was a member of an early voyage to eastern North America, although he may not have been the first to sight its coast. So it's documented that he came to this side of the world, right? Now, it says here, it says here, the second of the three sons of Erik the Red, the first colonizer of Greenland, Leif sailed from Greenland to Norway shortly before 1000 AD to serve among the retainers at the court of Olaf, right? Or Olaf. And he's also portrayed in the Netflix series, right? It says, who converted him to Christianity and commissioned him to urge that religion upon the Greenland settlers. It says, according to Erik the Red's saga, while returning to Greenland in about 1000 AD, Leif was blown off course and landed on the North American continent, where he observed forests with excellent building timber and grapes, which led him to call the new region Vinland. So it says Vinland, land of wine. That's what it means, right? So he called America Vinland, right? Before it was named America after this guy, Amerigo Vespucci, right? So these Greenland individuals, right? These Vikings, they called America Vinland, okay? It says, on his return to Greenland, he proselytized for Christianity and converted his mother, who built the first church in Greenland at Bratahilit or Bratalit, whatever, excuse me. It says Erik the Red estate. It says, Slovakia, moving kind of slow here. According to the saga of the Greenlanders in the book of the Flat Islands, considered by many scholars to be more reliable in some aspects than Erik the Saga book, I guess that's what it's talking about, account. Leif learned of the new land to the west from the Icelander Jorni, I guess that's how you pronounce his name, who had been storm driven there en route to Greenland about 15 years earlier. So he heard about America, okay, from another guy, right? So the thought of coming to this side of the world, was already put in his head. I'm pretty sure, that they had maps or, stuff like that when they came to this side of the world to pretty much map out things. Okay? So they've been knew about the Americas, man, way before Christopher Columbus. All right? So that they try to teach us is that, a Columbus, he was trying to go to India to get some spices and he ended up in America. No, sir. No, sir. Columbus. This is about 400 years before Columbus. So before he even came on the scene, they already knew about the Americas. Okay? Ben knew about it. Matter of fact, I remember, the apostles going into, well, in particular, the apostle Har, he said, look, King Solomon and them knew about the Americas. Okay? They knew about this side of the world. So we talking what? 10th century BC, when King Solomon was on the scene. Yeah, a 10th century BC. So they've been knew about the Americas, okay, but just here, dealing amongst, Esau, okay, this is around 1000 AD. So this is 400 some years way before Columbus. They came to America, okay. It says the saga pictures Leif equipping an expedition to the new land shortly after 1000 AD. He named the new areas according to their qualities: land of flat rocks, the Frobisher Bay area in the north, and possibly Cap Chile, the tip. So basically going into like him pretty much naming different areas according to their tongue and their language. All right. But this guy here, okay, Leif Erikson, he came to America, right, during the 11th century. Now, also here, real quick before I go into the video, this is something from history.com, okay, Leif Erikson, right? And his statue, they got a statue of him, okay, where they think he looked like, all right, he was a Viking. During the so-called Dark Ages. It says Leif Erikson was the son of Eric the Red, founder of the first European settler on what is now called Greenland. Born in Iceland around AD 970, Erikson sailed to Norway around 1000 AD, where King Olaf I converted him to Christianity. According to one school of thought, Erikson sailed off course on his way back to Greenland and landed on the North American continent, where he explored a region he called Vinland. He may also have sought out Vinland based on stories on an earlier voyage by an Icelandic trader. And that's why he went there, bro. Okay? Not just, oh man, the wind blew him there. He knew about America. Or what they call, they call it Vinland. Okay? Because when he got here, he encountered, the timber, and he said that he saw some grapes, and then they used those grapes to make wine. So he called it Vinland, which means land of wine. All right? In a part of America that he came to. But they knew about this, bro. This is 1000 AD, bro. Columbus came in 1492, bro. I mean, so this damn near almost 500 years before Columbus. But yet they give credit to Columbus because really he's the one who opened up Europe to take this side of the world, pretty much, right? To claim land, to claim the people as their own. All the resources, everything. Okay? That's why Columbus is credited and given a holiday. But this guy, Leif Erikson, he's the one who really came to North America. And guess what? They did trade with Gad. They traded with Gad and Reuben. Okay? But mainly Gad. Because they say he came to the northeastern of America. So you had Gad them up that way, right? Like Boston and New York area, right? That region. Rhode Island. So-called Plymouth Rock, right? You had Gad up there. It says after spending the winter in Vinland, so he stayed on the landmass of America. They called it Vinland. It says Leif sailed back to Greenland and never returned to North American shores. He is generally believed to be the first European to reach the North American continent nearly 4 centuries before Christopher Columbus arrived in 1492. You see that? But Columbus never came to North America. He went to the Bahamas Islands, man. He never set a foot on this continent. But this guy, Erikson, he actually came and he stayed over here. They actually built a fort, all right, here in America, okay? I almost called it Vinland. But, you know, here in America, man. All right, so they been knew about this place, bro. So the lie to say that, oh, man, Columbus, he was trying to find some spices in India. No, he wasn't. He knew it, bro. Columbus knew exactly where he was going, okay? He knew exactly where he was going. He knew exactly who he was going to encounter. And he had bloodshed and conquering on his mind, okay? They all heard the stories about America and the people over here, bro. It wasn't no mystery to them, man. That's a lie that they teach to the people, bro. Like it was a mystery that, you know, Gardner was over here. No, they been knew about it. If Leif Erikson heard about it, right? He heard about it growing up as a kid. You think he was the only one who, you know, who was trying to come over here and see what's over here, bro? He was the one, you know, who got lucky and came, but he wasn't the first so-called Viking to come to this side of the world, man. But he's credited, you know, as the one who discovered America. But he heard about it from somebody else, so obviously they've been coming over here, bro. And this is a history that you won't learn about in school ever, bro, okay? I just learned about Leif Erikson today from watching the Netflix series Viking Valhalla. So I'm going to end it off here, man, with this video. All right. This guy does an amazing job on this this guy here, Leif Erikson, okay, from the history profiles. And he's pretty much covering the characters from the Netflix series Viking Valhalla. All right. So I'll play this here, man, and then I'll pretty much close out with this. Here we go.
One of history's most successful but forgotten explorers was Leif Erikson, the man who discovered and explored the lands of North America, otherwise known to the Vikings as Vinland. So why did our teachers at school and everyone else credit Christopher Columbus for discovering America when the Vikings were there 500 years earlier? First, let's explore further into the life of Leif Erikson. Leif's father was Erik the Red, hence Leif's second name, Erikson, aka the son of Erik. Erik was a well-known explorer and outlaw who founded 2 Norse colonies in Greenland. His distant relative was also Nadod, who is credited for discovering Iceland. So Leif came from a long line of explorers, and he was born in the year 970 and had 2 brothers, Thorvald and Thorstein, and 1 sister named Freydis. A strange fact about Leif's childhood is that he was raised by a slave named Thryker. Thryker was a man captured by Erik the Red in a raid in Germany, and he was put in charge with tutoring Leif and teaching him what it meant to be a man. He taught Leif everything, including reading and writing runes, the Celtic and Russian language, and the ways of the trade. He also told Leif about the sagas of old, taught him about many plants, and of course, he taught him the use of weapons, such as the sword and axe. Whatever free time Leif had as a child, he spent it watching ships come into the harbour, and he would listen to the stories of the men at sea, which he loved. Once he reached adulthood, he married a woman named Thorgunna, and together, the couple would have a son. Leif was described as wise, considerate, and a strong, powerful man with a striking appearance. Leif would soon after set sail for Norway. When he arrived, many people came to greet him, and a messenger came to take him to King Olaf's court. When the messenger told the king who he was, the king said he knew Leif's father well. The king was so impressed with Leif that he invited him to stay in Norway. Leif decided there was no rush to go back home to Greenland, so he accepted the offer. While in Norway, he was treated very well. Being in the personal circle of the king, he lived as he had never lived before. One day, while playing chess with Leif, King Olaf told him of how he also used to worship the gods of old. He told him how a plague had struck Norway and how many people had died. Then he told Leif of how the old gods were fading from this world and how he began to worship Christ. Leif was baptized along with thousands of Norwegians, and then the plague miraculously stopped. It turns out Leif wasn't very faithful to the old Viking gods. He was swayed by the preachers spreading the word of this new god. He finally agreed to be baptized and accept this new faith. On his return voyage, he brought along a priest to spread the Christian faith to Greenland on the orders of King Olaf. Historically, the main sources of information about the Viking voyages to Vinland are two Icelandic legends, the saga of Erik the Red and the saga of the Greenlanders. These stories were written down approximately 250 years after the settlement of Greenland and are open to relative interpretation. However, the historic documents that are the two sagas, combined with archaeological evidence where chieftain halls and very large skeletons were found in Vinland, means that the old sagas could be very true and more than sheer fantasy. In one story, Leif was watching boats and he saw an old tattered ship rowing very slowly. This ship belonged to a merchant by the name of Bjarni Herjolfsson, who had set sail from Iceland to Greenland to visit Leif's father Erik, but he had been gone for over a year. Leif followed Bjarni to a hall where he told a tale of how mist had covered the North Star, so he couldn't navigate properly. They sailed for many days and finally spotted land, but it wasn't Greenland they saw, as glaciers didn't cover the coast, but instead trees did. It was late in the summer, and he did not want to winter in this new land, as he knew this could mean his death. He noted this mysterious land was covered with forests, so fearing for the worst, he turned back and went back to Greenland before the winter. Bjarni would sail his ships to Leif, and he would tell him about this marvelous land he had encountered by chance. Leif became obsessed with the idea of a new land, and sailed that way intentionally, with a 35-man crew. He would journey into the unknown, as Greenland is where the maps of man ended. Leif eventually...
You see that? You see how he mentioned that he sailed to America intentionally? But in the article, they said, oh no, the storm blew him to America. No. That's a lie. The same lie, like they said with Columbus. Oh, he was heading, he was heading to go get some spices from India and landed in America. Yeah, sure he was. Come on, man. Stop it with the lies, Esau. You came over here because you heard about it. You heard about some new land and you wanted to go pretty much try to conquer it and set up your BS, man. Okay, which you eventually did because we're here today, right? But these Edomites, these so-called leaders, these rulers were all obsessed with conquering new land, bro, and Christianizing everything, right? So here we go.
Leif eventually found this new land, but was disappointed as the area was just a huge slab of rock. Because of this, he named it Helluland, which can be translated into Slabland. This is now believed to be Baffin Island. Leif then sailed south, knowing there must be something more. Eventually, he would see another land in the distance, and when he went to the shore, he found it had white beaches and trees. Because of this, he named it Markland, which can be translated into woodland, which is believed today to be the eastern coast of Canada. Leif knew that there were more marvelous lands to be seen, so he sailed southeast for 2 days and encountered a magnificent mainland. Here, Leif found that the land was so rich that he decided to set up a colony there. The Vikings thought this new land was incredible. There were fish that were as big as a man's leg. There was little frost in the winter, and there were amazing forests all over this new land. Leif thought his new god had blessed him indeed. Once they were settled with their houses being fully built, They set up exploration groups. They found the area was full of vines and grapes. Leif then named the land Vinland, which can be translated to mean wineland. After surviving the winter in Vinland, Leif would sail back to Greenland in the spring with a boatload of grapes and timber. He would also save an Icelandic castaway and his crew. After that, he was nicknamed Leif the Lucky. Leif would never return to Vinland, but other people from Greenland and Iceland did, as they now knew there was land west of Greenland, and the mystery and opportunity of a new land would intrigue them. After returning to Greenland, he converted his mother to the Christian faith, and she would establish the first church in Greenland. The last recorded mention of Leif is in 1019. Nothing is known regarding his death, and his role as a chieftain passed to his son by 1025, so we can only speculate when he died, and what he did in his later years. So why did Christopher Columbus get all the credit in discovering and being the first man in America? Is it because he opened America to Europe, which was the expansionist power in the time, which in turn led to the conquer of the Western Hemisphere? I personally would have preferred to learn about the Old Norse sagas and about Leif and his life. He lived 500 years before Columbus, where the boats were Viking longships, so his discovery is that much more impressive. That's what I believe anyway. Do you believe that Leif Erikson was the first recorded European in the Americas? Or do you believe that the sagas of old are make-believe, and it was really Columbus who discovered those lands? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and I'll see you all soon for another History Profile.
All right, man. So that's it there on this guy, Leif Erikson. Okay. He could very well be the man who discovered so-called North America for the Europeans. All right. But according to the Viking tradition, he's the one. Okay. So Lord knows edified, man. Just want to get into that info there. Some of you brothers out there can look into. But hopefully, once again, it was edifying. Praise Yahweh, Bashim, Al Shai, Bashim, Chal Kadash. Shalom.